proactive change strategy number 3 is exporting. So that is where we're looking at the future and we're saying, what are the new opportunities? Well, we can actually keep doing the same thing in terms of the product. Maybe we just change where we sell it. So we're going to put that in this category here, looking towards the future, changing the product and how we sell it, and we'll say that is exporting. So what is exporting? That is where, from an Australian perspective, the business sells its products to new markets overseas. So we're saying we have a product that is Australian, we're going to send it or export it to the consumer in another country. So that's a pretty easy concept to understand. I guess examples are probably the harder thing. There's not a lot of Australian exports that that we as consumers buy, because our biggest export is iron ore and minerals and coal and things like that. If BHP and Rio Tinto only sold to Australian customers, they'd be broke. Most of their business is now exporting all those minerals to customers overseas. So it's a really good business opportunity. But 4 and 20 pies, if you're a fan of the NBA, you've probably seen that Philadelphia 76ers now, with the Ben Simmons sponsorship, trying to get that product as a product overseas. Americans don't really eat meat pies, or at least not hot ones anyway. So the 4 and 20 brand is trying to export that overseas. What else? Well, we don't do a lot of other things anymore. It's mainly minerals and so on, not a lot of clothing and that. But some ones you mightn't be aware of are the service sector. So, for example, Xero is accounting software, and it is beautiful accounting software. I've used it a lot over the years, and it is a great export that you can send to businesses overseas. Can use it. You can use it anywhere that's got the internet. Our education sector is very successful at exporting education overseas, so setting up university campuses like Monash. Not only that, a lot of high schools now are setting up campuses, particularly in China. So that's a great export. So it doesn't have to be good, it can be a service. But probably the biggest one at the moment is Afterpay. So kind of like where you lay by something. You buy it today, you don't pay. You pay it off in 4 installments. Great business, was recently just bought for about $30 billion by the guy that owns Twitter, Jack Dorsey. He's got kind of a sub company. I think it's called Square. Yeah, that's an export. So now that product will now be exported to America. So that's a really good example. So what are the strengths and weaknesses of this proactive strategy then? Well, we can take a product that already exists and sell it to new markets. We don't need to develop a new product. We don't need to innovate. We can just take the existing product that we already have and sell it overseas. And the biggest thing is it feels like Australia is a big country. It is geographically, but it's not in terms of consumers. There's under 30 million people here. So it's not a great market size. So if we export, we're increasing our customer base. And perhaps a really good advantage you might think of is that the Australian government has free trade agreements with other countries like the USA, European Union, etc., where we can send our goods overseas and not incur taxes like tariffs and so on. But not only that, if we go to the Austrade website, we'll see there's a lot of support programs. The Australian government wants Australian businesses to export overseas. They will help you. They will provide support. We have an embassy in every country in the world pretty much, so they've got contacts that can help you. So why don't we all do this then? Why isn't every business exporting? Well, there are some disadvantages. But unless you've got a brand new product and you've got a differentiated product, how are you going to compete against foreign businesses in their own country? You're the outsider. It's very difficult. And that's also because there's high costs. You've got to establish a brand new setup, maybe a new factory, you've got to hire new workers, and also you've got to conduct marketing so people are aware of your brand. You ask 100 American consumers, do they know 4 and 20? You might be lucky to find one who does. And that's because it's an unknown product, and we've got to spend a lot of money to set that up. We're also going to have a lot of costs from exchange rates. So whenever we buy something in a foreign country, we need to or send it to a foreign country, we've got to convert Australian dollars to their currency. We've got tariffs, which we looked at earlier. That's in the year. That's a tax that other governments charge to accept Australian products. And also taxes, the hidden taxes that we might have in Australia. Perhaps the biggest one, though, is the cultural and language barriers. Exporting to America or England, easy. Very similar cultures. Exporting to any country that doesn't speak our language, for example, very difficult. Not only that, it might speak our language, but might have different cultural norms. So so not all products are appropriate in every country. So we just want to make sure that we do understand the culture and the language before we export something.